Hello third grade, welcome along. It's time for art, and here's the picture that I'm going to be showing you how to make this week. As you can see, we're using colour markers and we're doing lots and lots of little dots. This technique of making a picture with dots was invented more than 100 years ago in Paris, in France. And some artists at that time started experimenting with making pictures in different ways. They didn't have markers. Markers weren't even invented at that time. So they made their art with paint and with brushes. And they developed this style that we now called Pointillism, from the word point, because it's single points of colour. So that's a little bit of history about this style. In a way, it's quite an easy technique to do. It just takes time. So make some time. I would say at least 30 or 40 minutes to make this picture. So make sure that you've got enough time to do it, or you don't have to do it all in one go. You can do it in 2 or 3 goes. That's fine. But of course, as always, the main thing is you just enjoy the process and make beautiful art. Okay, so let's get started. Alright then, let's first sketch out the shape of our tree. And your tree doesn't have to look the same as mine. The branches can be in different positions, going in different directions. You can have more or less branches. It really doesn't matter. The one thing that I think is important though is that you try to fill up lots of the page, so you make your picture nice and big. So I'm going to start with a curving line like this, something like that. Keep it sketchy. It's okay if it's kind of going backwards and forwards, if it's a bit jaggedy. We're going to erase the pencil again like we do a lot. So you can, it doesn't have to be super neat at this stage. Really what you're aiming for is these kind of long, sort of fingery shapes, but with pointy edges. So like I said, yours doesn't have to look exactly the same as this. It can be different. But I think it's nice to have 4 different areas, okay? So if yours doesn't work that way, if it has 3, that's probably okay. If it has 5, that's okay too. But I have these 4 sort of areas where I can have 4 different colours on these different branching areas. So there's one here, one here, one here, and one here. That makes 4. And I'm just going to kind of sketch those in as well. Sort of like just the edge of it, kind of like this, right? Like kind of a cloud shape. And they can overlap, of course. They will overlap. So that one's in front, and this one is too, and this one is kind of behind. See, it's going all the way to the top of the page there. So we're moving on to the next stage, which is to use markers, and I'm going to do the trunk of the tree and the branches with black, and I also have this dark purpley colour. And so now we begin this slow process of putting in all of these dots. It does take time, and you do have to go slow for it to make a good effect in the end. And you don't want to press too hard either, because you'll ruin your marker. So if you try and go too fast, you can flatten the tip of your marker, and you don't want to do that. So take your time, enjoy the process. So you'll see what I'm going to do is use mostly the black marker, but just adding little bits, just a few dots here and there of my plum colour. Alright? just like that. And that's going to continue through the trunk and all of the branches. Okay, so it's looking good, but unfortunately my black marker seems to be running out, so I'm going to switch to this one. This is a permanent marker, but it'll be fine to use this. Now, the next thing we're going to do is, of course, colour these areas of leaves. And you're going to choose colour pairs for each of the sections. So I have my 4 different sections, so I'm going to have 4 different colour pairs, so that's 8 colours in total. So here's one pair, is blue and purple, and I have red and green, and I also have a kind of well, a different, like a different green and a kind of orangey yellow, sort of dark yellow, and then a blue and orange. So they're pretty kind of crazy colors, not natural colors, of course. You can do more natural colors if you want to. It's really up to you. But what I would suggest is that you choose one of your colors in the pair to be like the dominant color. So that means use it more. So for this section, I'm going to have mostly green, but with just some dots of red. Kind of like what I did for this part of the tree, mostly black, but with some dots of purple. So there we go, the picture is finished. It does take quite a long time, doesn't it? But I hope that you like what you've made, and that it's worth putting the time into. I think it's worthwhile when you put time and effort into a piece of art, and it looks beautiful at the end. So yes, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it, and remember, you've learnt this new technique that was first invented more than 100 years ago by those French painters. Alright, that's it. Don't forget to share your work, of course.